Jace arrives on Ixalan right after losing very badly in a battle against Bolas on Amonkhet. So he comes here and his memory is fragmented. That's an occupational hazard of being a mind mage, is your own brain gets a little fragile, apparently. So his mind is wiped, and he shows up on Ixalan, and his sort of first instinct is to try to get away. But this plane doesn't let planeswalkers get away.
There's a special kind of magic affecting planeswalkers on Ixalan. Once you're on Ixalan, you actually can't leave. You can't planeswalk. There's something preventing the planeswalkers from leaving the plane. So the card Ixalan Binding is explaining that. So Jace is stuck and marooned on Ixalan, and he's sort of our point of view character.
So Ixalan's Binding was one of the toughest solves for the whole set in terms of what that art was actually going to look like, because that effect was sort of an unknown. Like, how do you show something not happening? It's real hard.
One of the first people that Jace meets after finding his way to some kind of civilization here is Vraska, who has taken on a role on Ixalan as a pirate captain, because awesome. So we see her in this story spotlight petrifying a vampire in the course of a battle, which is similar to the way that she took control of her pirate ship by petrifying the captain and lashing him to the bowsprit in order to have a figurehead on the ship.
Imagine you're sitting down with your friends, you're playing a nice little game of Commander, and the game's going kind of long, everything's wonderful. And then, just when you've got your board out there, got all your nice little tokens laid out, bam! River's Rebuke, everything's back in your hand. You're going to be seeing a lot of this one across from you on Commander tables. Watch out and be prepared.
So the next spotlight is the thematic compass itself. Vraska's boss gave it to her. Vraska's boss, in this case being Bolas, who has sent her here looking for the treasure of the Golden City for a very specific purpose that's all part of his nefarious plans. So we see this compass that is leading them toward the Golden City, and it's one of our double-faced cards, and it transforms into the gateway to the Golden City. We'll see more of the city itself in Rivals of Ixalan. I like to think about the story of Ixalan as the people who love Jace will love seeing Jace as their hero going through the story and overcoming the challenges he faces, and the people who hate Jace, I know there are some of you out there, are going to love seeing the challenges he's constantly facing. We are thinking of this story as just one kind of pitfall after another, sometimes literally. And I guess really this card is an example of Jace going down over the waterfall and Vraska reaching for him, trying to save him uncharacteristically.
We've played around a lot with Jace and given him a lot of very generic blue abilities. He's done a lot of card draw, he's done a lot of manipulation and some bouncing. But one of the major aspects of his personality that we haven't done much with is illusions. And this really felt like an interesting time where we had a spot to say, okay, well, Jace's memory is wiped, he doesn't quite know what's going on, maybe he's lost some of his ability to do his mind magic, but he still has that illusionary backup stuff. And so we early on came up with this idea of what if he has this ultimate that is very similar to an ultimate that we originally had in Return to Ravnica of Jace makes Phantom Illusion copies of himself, and that's really where it got started. And we worked backwards to say, well, what if this was just the Jace that was all about illusions and all about helping creatures out to really show a kind of difference in the character from where you're used to seeing him to where he is now.
Making Jace Cunning Castaway for Constructed was a tough task because 3-mana planeswalkers historically have been difficult to balance, but I really think we hit a good note with this one as it requires you to actually pre-plan to play him, so you actually have to play a creature beforehand, or if you want to use his other ability, it's actually not that great because you're only playing a 2/2 for 3 mana. So we really like it when you have to really construct your deck around these 3-mana planeswalkers, and I think we got him to a good spot here.
This time around, we want to make Vraska bigger, meaner, and more powerful than ever before. You really get to see her on this card doing a couple different things. One, she's got a band of pirates. Yarr! It's pretty clear from her first ability that that's what she gets to do. Pirates entering the fray. Second of all, she looks at something, bam, you're dead. And because it's Ixalan, they probably have some treasure on them, so might as well take that while you're there. And then, of course, her trademark ability to kill off your opponents very easily. Oh, your life total is 1. Well, let my little 2/2 pirate go in to finish you off. She's the whole package.
Planeswalkers, you know, kind of like Jace is in this new role as part of Vraska's pirate crew. We also wanted Vraska to take on the role of this vicious pirate captain here. And so giving her a costume update as well felt really appropriate. And our concept artists came up with this awesome design that sort of spoke to some of the shape language of her original design, but you just look at her and even without a hat, you know, like, ooh, that's an awesome pirate. She belongs at the helm of a ship, and it just ended up working out great.
We knew that we wanted to have Jace, and we wanted to have Vraska, because those are the two major characters in the story, but we had room for one more Planeswalker. And we're like, okay, Vraska was already kind of hitting the pirate thing, but how about dinosaurs? Wouldn't it be really cool to have a Planeswalker that interacts with dinosaurs? And so what we said is, okay, let's figure out how to make a Planeswalker that's all about dinosaurs. And so Huatli was a combination of things. We wanted someone who was native to the plane, because obviously neither Jace or Vraska are native, and we wanted someone that linked and made sense with dinosaurs. And so we came up with this really cool sort of animal-themed Planeswalker that has an affinity for large animals like dinosaurs.
It was pretty funny. One of the test names we had for Huatli was Dinosaur Fountain, because all she did was make a dinosaur every turn. So I really like how Huatli ended up, and hopefully you will enjoy playing with the Dinosaur Fountain.
Explore started off as a mechanic, actually just on a few cards that Ken Nagel designed in the design process, that had a writer that said, well, whenever you cast this, then reveal the top card of your library. If it's a land, put it in your hand. And that was the thing. Well, it was interesting, but at the same time, the reward was just too large. It was just too big of a gap between when you hit and didn't hit. It wasn't very fun on commons. Then Mark Gottlieb, who was also on the design team, had the idea of, well, what if we put it on creatures and they either got a +1/+1 counter or you got the land? And all of a sudden, we kind of collapsed where the difference between those two things were. And all of a sudden, it's like, oh, wow, so I'm happy either way, but there are actually interesting things that happens depending on which one I get.
Deadeye Tracker is a really interesting card in that we were able kind of to solve two issues with one card. So on one hand, we wanted cards that had the Explore mechanic to show up in Standard, and this is one way to do that. The other thing is we wanted some amount of graveyard hate. We felt like we didn't have enough, especially coming out after Amonkhet block. We wanted more ways to interact with the graveyard, and this is a way we were able to do it while merging it with the set themes.
The design team for Ixalan went through a lot of exploration of trying to figure out how to reflect the story of exploring this world in card design. The Explore mechanic is one of those. The double-faced cards are another.
One of the things we really liked about the double-faced cards was that just like in Zendikar, we had the quests. That people really liked the quests. It's like, go on this quest and then you get a reward. That these were like little mini quests. It's like, okay, you're an explorer, we'll give you the tools, you go explore, and when you find it, boom, you get a really cool reward.
So when you're designing land cards, these Ixalan transform cards have a little more knobs to them, as we call it, where you could tweak them because they have a mana cost on the front side. They have some condition to where you have to transform it. So we could put some very powerful stuff on the backside, stuff that we would not actually print on a normal land card. And just for nostalgia's sake, and it would be very splashy if we could put some throwbacks to some old cards. Some Gaia's Cradle was in there from the beginning. We thought that'd be a great payoff if you could do the proper kind of exploring.
When design had this idea of, well, we'll have these double-faced cards that turn into lands, it was certainly scary. This is a very hard thing, you know. When we had things like, well, we have a small werewolf that turns into a bigger werewolf, okay, I get it, you see the backside of that and you say, well, I wouldn't expect to pay 3 mana for like, you know, a 5/6 creature, so it must be a huge discount that I'm getting. But lands, well, people are just kind of used to playing lands. And so it's like, well, why am I playing this 3 mana artifact and my big reward is getting a land? And the answer was, we have to make some of the craziest lands you've ever seen. We have to make lands that are just so strong you would say, well, they would never print this as a land, and have that being the huge payoff and reward.
I'm excited about Ixalan as a whole. I feel like, you know, we executed on this thing that just makes me feel like my inner child is welcome to come out and play. Like, I just get to kind of forget the seriousness of some of the other places that we've been and take it for what it is. It's just a really fun place. It doesn't apologize for being fun. And I'm glad we took that tack with it.